Brother, I'm going, wanna wow Hulk Hogan. If I like get some moment, I'll make sure it's an explosion. Cause lately I've been seeing stars, trying to kick out of this joy cord. But it's no holds barred, middle fingers like I'm Stone Cold.
What is good, ladies and gentlemen? Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Slapping Meat Wrestling Podcast. I'm We Too Deep 413. Again, that's We Too Deep 413. You can find me on Twitter or X, whatever we're calling this thing, and TikTok. Again, that's We Too Deep 413, as seen up here. If you're watching the video, if not, it's WETOODEP 413. If you're listening on audio. If you're listening on YouTube, give us a like, comment, and subscribe. Turn on the notifications. That way, anytime a new episode drops, you can get the alert for it. If you're listening on audio on Spotify or Apple or like I think Google Podcast. I'm not exactly certain what Google system is. Google Play Store, maybe. I think it's on Pandora. I think it's on iHeartRadio. Wherever you're at, leave us a 5-star review if you like it. If you don't like it, leave us a 1-star. Tell us how we can do better. Follow or subscribe on that platform. Again, turn on your notifications. That way, when a new episode is released, you will get the notification and will know when that happens. If you're on Apple and you have us, and you follow us, you put us in your library, every new episode will automatically be downloaded. I know that for certain with Apple. I'm not certain about the other ones. That way it automatically download. We got a good episode for you. We didn't do an episode last Saturday. Again, because I was in Tennessee at the time. I was actually driving home Saturday for most of the day. And we're back. We have a Saturday show this week. It's sort of the community show. If you're not used to, go to the Discord. Leave a link in the description as well. Or you can go to the Casual Wrestling Show YouTube page. Subscribe there as well. And the links are there in his videos as well to the Casual Wrestling Community Discord, where we do a lot of talking about a lot of topics, right? I'm assuming most of the people listening to this show have already, joined the Discord, and if you haven't, please go ahead and join our community. We'd love to have you. One of the perks of that is, for at least for this show, is I try to do as much interactive stuff on my shows, especially the Saturday show, as possible. So, for example, we're starting a 2K tournament. We just finished the men's tournament about a month ago. We're getting ready to start sort of like a women's wrestling tournament. We're getting ready to have that process start. And you can only join that if you're in the Discord. For me, I ask for, questions and suggestions, and that's what the Saturday show typically is consumed of, is me answering questions and suggestions of topics. And then the other part is I do like a guess that storyline every Saturday, and the other part is I do interactive sort of brackets. And so we've been doing what we call the Slapping Meat bracket. We've been doing a women's bracket. I took 32 women who have wrestled or are currently wrestling. I was thinking of sort of like past, present, and what I call future NXT. And we created a bracket. I'm going to pull it up right here. As you can see, Charlotte and Rhea Ripley are the first two people in The final four of this bracket are matchups that we were voting on since Wednesday. Were Charlotte and Bailey, and then Sasha versus Rhea. The winners of those are Charlotte and Rhea Ripley. The final or the two matchups for this week will be Nikki Bella versus Tiffany Stratton. I think we could get a very interesting result at that one. I'm interested to see how that one goes. And then Bianca Belair versus Cora Jade. Again, I don't know how that one's going. That'll be interesting. Who gets the last two spots in the final four? This is very interesting bracket so far. And so tune in. I did pick Rhea and Charlotte in these two matchups as well. So my vote matches the community vote. I think for the most part, my vote has matched the community vote almost all the way through. So we'll see how this thing continues. Once this bracket is done, we will tune over, and we're going to do the same thing with the men. Getting that down to 32 is going to be tough. So I may do 64. I don't know. I haven't decided yet. That might take a while. We'll figure that part out. And then so that again, you can only vote on this. We'll only accept votes if you're in the Discord. That's the only way we're gonna accept the votes for that. It's sort of a perk of joining the Discord. So if you're not in there, go ahead and get on in there. You can message me. I'll give you an invite link, or go to the Casual Community Wrestling Show, a Casual Wrestling Show YouTube page, subscribe there, and then click the link in the videos. That'll take you to the Discord. With that, we'll move on to the first topic. It's actually what I would call the title topic. The title of this episode is "Could Someone Tell Tony to Calm Down?" And what I'm talking about there is Tony Khan has come out and basically, I don't know, do I still have that quote? If I do have that quote still saved, let me see if I still have it. Yeah, here it is. Tony Khan. And this is a quote from Tony Khan at the All Out Media Call. Quote, "For a long time, the only spectacle for many years was WrestleMania. Now there's AEW. It sold more tickets than any WrestleMania ever." I need Tony to calm down. Now, normally I don't do news segments like this on Saturday, but I couldn't wait till Wednesday to talk about this. Tony Khan. You know, I used to do like what seemed like a weekly segment of Shut Up, Tony. And I may bring that back if Tony Khan's going to continue to say stupid shit like what he just said here. Tony Khan, I need you to calm down. I need you to calm down, Tony. And AEW fans, I need you to calm down. No one's going to take away from you the fact that you just put 81,000 fans inside Wembley Stadium. Congratulations. Congratulations. No one's taking that away from you. You had 81,000 paid fans at your first show internationally. No one's going to take that away from you. I'll give you your props. You did a very good job getting people. But no one's talking about your show. Now, part of that is the CM Punk issues we've described over the last week, basically. But I think a lot of that also has to come in to the fact that you put on a glorified indie show and there was really nothing to talk about. You really didn't give much substance. You did, from everything that I've heard, was that show was so much better in person than it was on TV. And you can't run your business that way if you're going to, right? Your experience has to be equal. Rather, it's always going to be better in person. But you have to leave the crowd that's not there in person, the crowd watching on TV, with something to talk about. there was nothing to talk about. We're sitting here now. I didn't watch it, so I'm not talking about anything. But the rest of the people who weren't in the arena are sitting here talking about, oh, CM Punk and Jack Perry got in a fight. That's all that really came out of the weekend. But the second thing that I want to talk about in terms of this, why I really don't care and why I really wish Tony Khan, he just needs to tone it down. This was a one-time thing. You've never done this ever. Like, if you can repeat it multiple times, okay. But you're nowhere near the level of WrestleMania. Tony Khan, WrestleMania as an event. See, because this is where AEW fans will try to argue. This is and I know this because I just had this argument with some friends of mine who are hardcore AEW fans. I just had this argument with them, and the argument that they've made is, oh well, WrestleMania is a 2-day event. You're correct. Thanks for letting us know what we know, but it's still one show, right? When I talk about this year's WrestleMania, what was it, 39? Though it was over 2 days, it's still one show. It's one show split in 2 parts, right? So WrestleMania 40 in 1 day sold 90,000 tickets, and they'll come back and say, well, that's 2 days. That's the 2 days combined. You're right. That's the 2 days combined, but it's still one show. And the point that I'm trying to make is AEW has not surpassed the level of ability to put on a show that if it wasn't making money, WWE would not continue to do 2-day WrestleManias. The reason they do it this way is because the show is similar, or I don't know, how am I going to put this? The reason that WrestleMania is 2 days is because it's a big enough event in the mainstream to sell out for 2 days. And so WrestleMania 40 on a single day sells 90,000 tickets to its event. It's still one event, right? It's just like if you go, I'm trying to think of some big, like Coachella. If you go to Coachella, right? Coachella is a 3-day event, but it's still Coachella, right? And so maybe they get 100,000 day 1, 100,000 day 2, and 100,000 day 3, let's say, right? It's still, they could still market it as Coachella had 300,000 people, right? WrestleMania can do the same thing. That's why when we promote about WrestleMania 32, or excuse me, 32, that was one of the worst WrestleManias ever, by the way. That was the first one in Dallas. And the reason that's on my mind is because they had like 102,000 people in the arena. That's the largest ever. Now, that's an inflated number. We all know WWE inflates their numbers. But WrestleMania 39 is what I meant to say. Had like 162,000 people over the 2-day weekend. Again, we don't know if that number is inflated or how much it's inflated. But the point that I'm trying to make is, as a single event, right? WrestleMania still has more importance. Tony Khan needs to calm down. You're not on WrestleMania's level yet. And I can prove that because you're coming off the biggest show you've ever had. You're coming off the biggest show you've ever had, and your Dynamite averaged as a show 871,000 viewers, which is up 0.1% from last week, and is down 6% from the week prior in your demo that you swear you're like the god of. Right? Year over year. From this point last year, Dynamite is down 15% in ratings of total viewers, and the 18 to 49 demo they claim to be the god of is down 14%. So yes, you can put people in an arena overseas in the UK, but you're struggling to put people in your arenas in America. If you were to do that and fill up AT&T Stadium in Dallas and put 90,000 people in there, then it would be a big deal to me. But I mean, 81,000 in Wembley would be a big deal if you came off of that and you had a good rating and you had an increase in your product and the rating here in America. Because I've always said this, whether it's WrestleMania, whether it's Wrestle Kingdom, which is New Japan's big pay-per-view, whether it's AEW, no matter the promotion, if there's tickets available, they're going to sell in the UK. The UK has been starving for an event of this quality since the last pay-per-view WWE ran there. And Clash of the Castle was big, but before then, it's been, 20 years? So for 20 years, they've been starving for some sort of big event. It was destined to get 80 to 90,000 people in that building. It was destined to do that, right? So no one's taking away the accomplishment, but it's not special. Do it again next year, and then the year after that, and at the same time, build your ratings of your American audience, and then we could start to talk about whether or not that event, All In, is on the level of WrestleMania. But WrestleMania is still the premier event in the pro wrestling industry. It is the premier event. There's nothing better than it. It is literally the biggest event in the industry, and there's nothing even close to it. And so Tony Khan, who will now be nicknamed from now on as Sniff, or Cocaine Tony, we'll come up with something that'll stick. But I just, until you can reach that level of your show having importance and the way and sort of mainstream credibility in the way WrestleMania is, you need to shut up. And so that's what we'll end it there. We're coming here to the next segment here. So this was something I started on the last Saturday episode we had called Guess That Storyline. And I'm gonna reveal sort of the winners of that one. We had two people guess, and they both got it right. It was kind of super vague, so there was technically two answers. There was one I was looking for, but there was another storyline that kind of fit. So again, we'll review it. That one was a legendary chapter in professional wrestling history, involves the clash between two iconic wrestling personalities, each representing different eras of the sport. Storyline builds on their contrasting styles, fan allegiances, larger-than-life personas, culminating in a highly anticipated showdown that captures the essence of wrestling's evolution over the years. The narrative navigates themes of legacy, generational shifts, and the impact of these larger-than-life figures on the sport's popularity. Now, the answer I was going for was Rock versus Hogan. However, and this is how wrestling works. This is how you know it's a good story. It was essentially the same storyline as Rock versus Cena. They ran the same story back. And so I would have taken both, and in fact I did. And DJ Wavy D and the Witters on Discord did get it right, so we'll shout them out. Good job to you guys there. Again, if you want to take your guess and get shouted out for getting it right, you have to join the Discord. This is one of those interactive things. So for this week's episode, we're going to go through another storyline. Here we go. This storyline takes place in WCW. So this might be a little difficult for some people. If you didn't follow WCW, I will say this. I didn't follow WCW, didn't watch WCW. I went back and sort of watched the Monday Night Wars documentaries, but the only storyline when I started going back and sort of watching old matches, this was the only storyline that I really connected with in WCW and really cared about. I didn't watch a lot of it, but this is really the only WCW storyline that I know. So I want to see if, and I'll just say it this way. I ran this one past my friend who's he's an encyclopedia on wrestling history, and he couldn't guess this one. So I'm just going to go ahead and tell you that this one's hard. This one's hard. The fun part of guess that storyline is I try to make them through Chat GTP super vague. So we'll go ahead and read this description, and we'll see who can get it right. All right. This storyline in WCW weaves a tale of friendship, jealousy, and competition. The connection is rooted in shared history and camaraderie, but it becomes strained as individual aspirations and external pressures come into play. The narrative unfolds through a series of events that challenge their bond, leading to emotional confrontations and unexpected outcomes. The story explores themes of trust, betrayal, and the complexities of maintaining a friendship in the competitive world of professional wrestling. So after this episode post, I'll go ahead and post that description in the Discord. If you're listening or reading, that if you're in the Discord, you could take a guess at it. I want to see who gets it. That's super vague. Like I said, my friend who's sort of an encyclopedia on this stuff couldn't get it. And so with that, let's guess the storyline. Let's see who can guess it. And we're working on other fun interactive segments. So leave suggestions that you might want me to do. I'm working on trying to figure out a segment of like fantasy booking, but I'm trying to figure out how I want to do that. If I want to take a gimmick and book it sort of myself, or do I want to continue like fantasy booking a story that's already in play? And there's really no stories right now, if I'm honest, that are really interesting to me that I would even want to continue to even fantasy book. And so leave some suggestions if you have any for like segments that you would like to see on this show. I love the sort of community aspect of being able to do that. So now we're going to get into the questions from the Discord. This is the opportunity. If you're in the Discord, again, a perk of joining it, you can leave your questions and then I get to answer them. Now, all of these are from DJ Wavy D this week. There's 4 of them. And so we're going to go from them, and then we'll go ahead and answer these, and then we'll call it an episode. Excuse me. So the first one that we're going to talk about, he asks, is the Giant going extinct in modern wrestling? And so my assumption is like the Giant sort of character arc. So the Big Shows, who was literally known as the Giant, but Andre the Giant, guys like that, right? And my answer is yes. And I don't think it's for lack of giants in the industry, because there's a lot of them on the indie scene that I've seen that I think would be very well presented in their character if they were on WWE. There's a lot of good giants out there on the indie scene. I think the problem is your modern wrestling fan wants to see someone who looks like them. And a lot of these people, and this is no offense, you look at me, I'm not athletic in any way, shape, or form. If I were to quit, if I were to quit my love affair with food and got back in the gym, I could lose some weight, and then I'd be like perfect athlete body. Like, if I get down to like 275, I'm 6'3", so like if I could just get down to 275, I could probably, be more athletic. But anyway, the point that I'm trying to say is that a lot of these fans are your average size, 5'9" men who they want to see people who look like them, right? And they're tired of seeing these 6'5", 270 built muscular men. They're tired of seeing guys who are 6'8" run around, and they're tired of seeing the land of the giants. And so these fans, they want to see people that connect with them. And the style of wrestling really fits the smaller, more agile body style. And so I don't necessarily think wrestling is trying to get rid of the Giant. I think the fan and what they crave and the adaptation that the industry has had to do has sort of eliminated this is part of the reason why I think Omos isn't well received, is people just know that that's like a Vince McMahon stereotype, that he likes the tall, muscular men. And I think the fans just don't want to stick to that. And so they want to see the smaller in height guys and then like the larger, like fatter characters. And again, I'm not trying to body shame, but on this topic, I saw a picture of Imperium when they were in NXT UK. Back before they changed the names, it was still Walter and Fabian Eichner and Barthol. I forgot what Bawdy's name was. Barthel. I don't know. It's his real name. But by the way, on that topic, like the name change is so much better than their old names. I'm just gonna be on like Ludwig Kaiser and Giovanni Vinci are so much better than Fabian Eichner and whatever Baldy's name was in NXT. But this was back when Alexander Wolf, who's no longer with the company, was part of Imperium. And I saw the old picture of them then, and they were completely out of shape. All of them were out of shape. And then you look at them now, and this is what, like, I hate to do this, but like Walter and Keith Lee were both sent back to the Performance Center with the same command, basically: lose weight and we'll put you on TV. And Keith Lee he was not willing to do it. Gunther, he was, and now Gunther is about to become the longest reigning Intercontinental Champion of all time, right? Because he was willing to put in the work, right? So I'm not saying that Keith Lee body type isn't needed, but it's not believable to some of us who, like, when I think of wrestling, like, I think of the Giants. I wish the Giants still existed in this world. I'm sorry, when I look at someone like Adam Cole, if I think I could take you in a fight, and I don't fight, right? If I think I could take you in a fight, I'm not going to believe that you could beat anybody in a wrestling ring. I'm sorry. Or like Adam Cole, your girlfriend, or you fiance is a still girlfriend. Who knows what's going on with him and Britt? But she's taller than him. Like the last time they were in the ring together, with her wrestling boots on, she's taller than him. And it's not good presentation for me to believe that Adam Cole is your main star, right? It's not a good look, right? All right, so the next question, again by DJ Wavy D, is what are some women's dream matches that we can or could have realistically seen, take into consideration time and era? So do not choose, for example, Alundra Blaze versus Tiffany Stratton. So taking into consideration time and era, I'm going to be honest. I have very, very limited knowledge of the women's wrestling anywhere before 2015. And so I know of Trish, Lita, and Tori because they were the sexy things on TV, but those aren't dream matches, right? And prior, like WCW and all of the people who, at that time, I have no idea who they were. And then like from 2004 to 2015, I didn't really watch wrestling. I don't know what matches have happened. I know a few superstars and women's wrestlers from that time period. I don't know. I wouldn't necessarily consider any of those dream matches though. I have 3 written down. Now, one of them that I was considering is one that's technically already happened in NXT, and that's Sasha Banks versus Bayley versus Becky Lynch versus Charlotte. We got it in NXT at NXT TakeOver Rival. I want to see it again at a WrestleMania. I want to see the Horsewomen one more time. I think it would be a perfect match for all 4 of them to end their career on at a WrestleMania, maybe in 5-6 years, for them to just do that one final match. I think that would be, and call it like the end of the era match, right? Or the right, and nothing at stake other than just four, legends, and four sort of centerpieces of making women's wrestling mainstream, just going at it one final time. You don't need bad guys, you don't need good guys. You just the match sort of writes itself, right? I even think that would be a good time to put all four of them in the Hall of Fame the same year. You could have an all women's class. And I know people would probably boo at that idea, but I think that would be a really, really, really interesting way to run that year's WrestleMania. Whenever all four of them decide to retire, they all got 10 years plus left in the tank, probably. So there's only I would like to see that match, but technically that match has already happened, so we're not going to count that. The only other dream matches I can think of in the present day, since that's really the only thing I have any sort of knowledge of, there's three matches, and all of them revolve around the same person, and that person is Jade Cargill. And I think I talked about this earlier on an earlier episode, but it's Jade Cargill versus Bianca Belair. It's Jade Cargill versus Rhea Ripley, and it's Jade Cargill versus Charlotte Flair. Those are the only dream matches I can think of. That's just my limited knowledge of the women's side of the industry. I don't really have any other dream matches. I don't think WWE was in the business of creating superstars out of the women. And so, with my limited knowledge, I really can't answer this question all that well. And so those are the best that I can give you on the answers to that. The next question he asked is, who do you think is the next wrestler to grab the brass ring in WWE and become a future Hall of Famer? This one was tough because I couldn't really think of anyone, to be honest with you. I have someone written down. It took me a while to sort of fight over if I wanted to choose them or not. But I wrote down Carmelo Hayes. I think Carmelo Hayes has the 100% ability to be the biggest superstar of this sort of new era of WWE post-COVID, right? He's like the first big star they've sort of built. Braun Breaker's there, but I don't know if Braun Breaker's going to ascend to like the next level. I love Braun Breaker, but ever since he's turned heel, it's not that he's been bad. Ever since he lost the title, I just haven't really necessarily cared for him. He's just been there, right? Carmelo Hayes has that like swagger in him that I think no matter where he goes he's going to draw the crowd. And I really think he has what it takes to be a Hall of Fame. Again, you can't predict this stuff. You don't really know how the booking's going to play out. I always say booking's 90% of the business. And so I can say Carmelo Hayes is going to be a future Hall of Famer as we sit here now, and 10 years down the line they book him to do absolutely nothing. And so now, while we're on the topic of Hall of Famer, I have a question to throw back at the community. Is Bray Wyatt Hall of Fame worthy? And I know this is a tough topic because we just lost him. But is what Bray Wyatt accomplished in WWE and what he contributed to WWE, is it Hall of Fame worthy? Because there's cause for him to go in this year. And in an emotional state, I agree with them. But in a rational state, when I think about this, I can't say for certain whether or not Bray Wyatt gives us enough. Now, I think he gets in. I do. But does he deserve to go in this year? I don't know. I wouldn't mind it, but it's one of those where like they've put a lot worse people in the, like I think Snoop Dogg's a WWE Hall of Famer. Uh, some crazy people have been inducted into like. It is no offense to Charmel, but what did she do to deserve to get into the Hall of Fame? Right, the Bellas are Hall of Famers, which I mean Nikki was okay, but Brie not so much, right? So does Bray get in? I think he does. I just don't know if on a resume alone, if you're doing a fan vote, I don't know if I could support him going into the Hall of Fame. I think he does just because of what he meant to the industry and to the people who worked with him. But I don't know. That's a tough question. I want to throw that back to the community. Is Bray Wyatt Hall of Fame material? All right, so we'll get to this last question. DJ Wavy D again asked this one, and he really threw me for a loop on this question. And it's a good question, but it came out of left field, right? Because every question he's ever asked up to this point, and he's asked a lot of them, very good questions, created a lot of good conversation on this show. Of all the questions he's asked, they've all been sort of like wrestling related. And this is wrestling related, but this one came out of left field in terms of like, he's always like the questions we've just talked about is so, and who's going to be the next Hall of Famer to, like, who's going to grab the brass ring? What are some dream matches? Stuff like that. And those are the questions I'm used to. And those are good questions, but this one's a great question because it's just crazy enough that it's all, again, I read it and I was like, boy, where did he come from with this one? So his question is, if you had the opportunity in Dreamville, mind you, because this would never happen in real life, and if it did, I probably would die. I'm gonna be honest with you. If you had the opportunity to take any woman's wrestler on a romantic date, which that's a key word. That's a key word, because romantic date is different than just like, hey, we're going out to eat, right? This is like, oh boy, you know the camera sometimes. This is, there we go. Sorry to the YouTube fans who lost a picture there. The camera likes to act up sometimes. But this is why I pride myself in doing this in one take. So, hey, it's going to be a little crazy when you're filming things like this. But anyway, back to this question. The differential in just a normal date and like, hey, we're going to go out to eat versus romantic, because on a romantic date, at least to me, you're trying to build an intimate relationship. Now, notice, intimate doesn't mean sexual. I don't want you to think that I'm just thinking on but there's two different things here. Like if he were just to say, pick a woman you want to go out and hang out with, I'm picking the sexiest woman on the roster, right? Right. And so it depends on what you think as attractive. Tiffany Stratton's a potential candidate. There's a lot of people there that, I could pick that fit that, right? Because there's, this is just, hey, we hanging out, right? But when you say romantic, now you're thinking I'm trying to build a relationship. I want that. So there's a lot more that goes into this decision than just looks, right? And so I'm thinking of what's the vibe you present? How's your personality? Looks are important in this decision. But like, what's the personality? What's your vibe? What are you like as a person? And I think it goes right. And so within the wrestling world, now I'm going to go, the question came from left field and I'm sending the ball right back to left field because I'm going to come out of left field with my answer. I'm not choosing AEW or WWE superstar woman. I'm choosing an Impact knockout by the name of Deonna Purrazzo. And this is so I'm gonna work through my process and thinking this. Then I'll explain to you why I choose Deonna. So at first I thought, okay, who's in WWE that I would consider choosing? Well, there's Sol Ruka, but the only thing I know about Sol Ruka is her wrestling gimmick, and her wrestling gimmick is very shallow because it's basically I'm a college gymnast who likes to surf, and that's not really my vibe. She's an amazing athlete, but I don't go in the ocean. I stay out of the ocean, so that this is just not my vibe. Sol Ruka, I like you. You seem like a fantastic person. It's just not my vibe, right? And then I'm sitting here like Bianca, and nothing against Bianca, but I don't know. Bianca's a potential choice, but she's not the one that I would choose. I feel like there's a little bit more that I would want out of. Again, Bianca's sort of like super athletic, right? And again, that's just not my vibe, as you could tell, right? She be wanting to go on dates to like the gym and stuff, and I'm gonna be like, no. And so there was a lot to go into this decision. I thought about like Charlotte, and I was like, I don't know if I'd want to date Ric Flair's daughter. And this is nothing against Charlotte. She's a fantastic person, but she's already been divorced twice and maybe third time. I don't know what the status is with Andrade. I don't want to be failed marriage number 4, because this is sort of how I look at it. The first one. Now, granted, there was one that I believe that was like domestic abuse, and so I understand her getting out of that. I'm not going to use that against her, but like, if 2 other men and it wasn't anything like abusive or anything, and they couldn't stand being with you, okay, I could understand one, but a second one, and now you're and who's the problem in it, right? Either you can't take commitment, or there's something wrong to where they dip, right? So Charlotte's been eliminated, and then I thought about it. I was like, what's the vibe that I'm looking for? And then I thought about who fits that, who fits the vibe that I'm looking for. And then I thought about it. I was like, I need common interests. So this is where I landed on Deonna Purrazzo, because here's when I was 2015, go back then, I was a big indie wrestling super fan, and especially in the women's division. And so I fell in love with Deonna Purrazzo. I thought she was very good in the ring, and thought she was attractive, and we share a lot of common interests. For example, she's a New England Patriots fan. I'm a New England Patriots fan. We have a connection. She's Italian. I like Italians and Italian food and that culture. One of my best friends are Italian. I just like getting together with his family is like the best party you will ever be at, right? So that's the vibe that I want to be in. And this is nothing against her. Again, not body shaming, but she a little chunky, and I like a little bit of chunk. I'm just going to be honest with you. So we're going to go with Deonna Purrazzo. I spent a whole day thinking about this question, and I thought about it from, you said romantic, and so to me, romantic is, hey, we're looking at date number 2. We're looking at long-term relationship, and so now if I misinterpreted that question and by romantic you meant like sexual, and like, hey, you just going on a one night thing where it's gonna be romantic at the end of the night, I took this the wrong way. But to me, that's just a normal like date. When you say romantic date, you're looking to me as so that's words have meanings to me, and then depending on how you interpret words, and that's why I like to define things. So if I took it the wrong way, So I'm going to answer it for the other way. If it's just, hey, I'm looking for someone to go out to eat with, go to the movies, and hope to get lucky at the end of the night. If that's what you're looking for, that's a tough one, because I don't know. That's a tough question. Like I said, Tiffany Stratton's, she might be the one. And but see, I don't like to think in those terms, because a lot of the women that I would think of in this category are like 19, 20. Like you could say someone like damn, what's her name? Sky Blue or Julia Hart, but they're like 19 or 20. And I think that's a little bit close to being too weird. So I didn't think of this question that way. Hopefully that's not the way when you meant it. If it was, I answered it wrong, let me know. But I appreciate these type of questions, because these are the type of questions that are like, damn, I can analyze wrestling all day long. But out of all these women, right, like we know DJ Wavy D likes Asuka, because his actual question was, who would you go on a romantic date with, and why is it Asuka? Well, sadly, it's not Asuka. She just doesn't fit. She doesn't fit my vibe. But yeah. So, and sort of like a secret second place would be Rhea Ripley. But I feel like that I feel like I'm only attracted to her because of I liked her in her like good girl phase, where she was blonde with long hair and she was attractive to me. But there's just something about the goth sort of phase of Rhea Ripley right now that just hits on a different level. And so she might be a close second place to Deonna. But Deonna Purrazzo, I think, might be like a perfect match with me. Sadly, she's married, and I'll never get this opportunity. So that's why I said it's Dreamville, and we're going to go ahead and wake up to the reality that it will never happen. So that's just that's how the world works. But yeah, there's that. Thank you guys for watching or listening to the Slapping Meat Wrestling podcast. Let me know what you think. Again, join the discourse on the Discord, and I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Again, if you're listening on Spotify or Apple or any other podcast network, leave us a review. If you're watching on YouTube, like, share, subscribe, and let us know how you feel in the comments. Thank you for that, and I'll see you guys on the next episode.
Brother, I'm going run a wild Hulk Hogan. If I like get some moment, I'll make sure it's an explosion. 'Cause lately I've been seeing stars, trying to kick out of this chokehold. But it's no